Hi all, hope you're okay. Hope you've had a good morning so far and you've enjoyed the first start to this session today. This next 25 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about what you want to think about when choosing a course and also choosing a university. I'm also going to talk to you about where you can do that, because of course at the moment you might be thinking, right, well, I've got all these things I want to look into, but how do I actually find this out if I can't go and visit universities? But I'll talk you through that as well. I'm going to take around about 15-20 minutes, and I'm going to leave some time at the end for some questions. If you do have any questions you want to ask, if you put them in the chat, I will get to them towards the end of the talk. If it's anything I've talked about, anything you think I've left out, any questions at all, please do feel free to put them in the chat. You are going to have a chance to ask university related questions later on in the day. So anything related to this chat, please do feel free to put in the chat, and I'll get to it towards the end. Just to get straight into it, because like I said, there is quite a bit I want to make sure I get through in quite a short amount of time. First thing to say is that there is plenty of places you can go to and plenty of courses you can choose from. As you can see on the screen, we've got close to 400 different places you can actually go to. With higher education institutions, this covers universities, like the three of us here today, then specialist sports colleges, art colleges, music and drama colleges, and more as well. In terms of courses available, there's over 50,000 through UCAS. UCAS, you probably have heard of. UCAS is the way you're going to apply to university. I should say at this point, I'm really sorry if you can hear my newborn baby crying in the background. He's clearly not enjoying my talk. There's 50,000 different courses you can actually choose from. So even if it takes some of you a long time, you will all choose something you actually enjoy. You'll find the course you want to study. You'll find everything you're looking for. From my own experience, I've got a twin brother who had known for years he wanted to do computer science. I was someone who, it took me quite a long time to realize actually that wasn't really my sort of thing. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I'm really sorry. Let me get my dog a sec. Apologies, my dog's going to join me now so he doesn't bark. But I had known for ages, like I said, that I didn't want to do that. For me, it was all about trying to find something I enjoyed, something I had a passion for, and that for me ended up being English language. Now, all that needed me to do was do a bit more research, find a bit more out about what I could do, what I enjoyed, and then it was quite an easy choice for me by the end of it. Other things you can do, things like joint honours if you want to do two subjects together. So if you're struggling to narrow down from maybe one or two different courses, then you can look at doing courses together if that is going to be an option for you. Okay, so what we always say is you want to think about the 4 C's. So the 4 C's covers the course, so of course what you're actually going to study, which I will go over. It then covers the career, so what your next step's going to be. If you do have any idea about what you want to do next, then you can look into the career. When I get to that, I'll show you that please don't panic. Please don't think that today, with this event in mind, you have to know what you want to do when you're older, because that's not the case. And then towards the end, a bit more about the campus and the city, so where you actually want to go, where you actually want to live. So thinking of these 4 C's kind of gives you the clear steps into finding the right choices for you. There's no right or wrong order to do it in. I would always probably recommend choosing a course first, just because that's what you're going to be assessed on. That's what you're going to be studying day to day. That's what you're going to be waking up in the morning to go and learn about. So you want to choose something you actually have a genuine interest in yourself. So that's why I would choose a course first. Okay, so when it comes to the course, what sort of things you've got to think about? The best place to start, and I would say probably the easiest place to start, even if it takes a long time to get to this stage, is just sit back and think, well, what do I actually enjoy? Ultimately, university is going to be at least 3 years, 4 years, 5 years if you're doing medicine or dentistry, for example, or other courses. So you've got to choose something you've got a genuine interest in, something you actually want to learn more about, something that's going to excite you, something that's going to engage you and that you're enthusiastic about. So really think about what you enjoy, and that could be an A-level you're studying now. It could be like me in school, where I really enjoyed English language and lit. It could be something you do in your spare time. It could be some reading or research you've done. But just think, well, what do I actually want to learn more about? Now, I know that sounds quite easy, but I think a lot of students don't really think that through when they make their decisions. They don't really think, well, I should do something I actually want to learn. That's what university is all about, things you want to learn more about, places you want to live, social activities you want to get involved in as well. If you have got a chosen career, then like I mentioned earlier on, you might want to choose a course based on that. I'll come on to that in a bit more detail shortly. When looking at your courses, when looking at what you want to do, one thing you've got to always make sure you do is look into the finer details. So find out about the modules. The modules are very similar to what you're studying now, where you've got different topics within the subject you're taking at A-level or IB or any other qualification. So you want to make sure that you've looked into detail about what you can actually do on that course at university. Now, this information is quite easy to find on university web pages, which again, I'll get onto shortly. But the modules are what you're going to be studying as part of that course. So it's always really important to make sure you've looked into it so you know exactly what sort of things you're going to have available to you. Do you want to include a placement year? A placement year is where you get a chance to go and get industrial experience as part of the course for a year. So it normally adds an extra year, so it becomes a 4-year degree at least. But is that something of interest to you? Is that something you want to learn more about and you want to find out about in more detail? If so, make sure you're looking at courses where you have got that option to do a placement year. What are the requirements? So what sort of grades are you looking at? That's also going to be really important. You've got to make sure you're being realistic and you're giving yourself a good chance by applying for courses where you know you're going to achieve those grades. I don't put that in there as a downer or anything at all, but just make sure you are looking at courses that realistically you're going to have a good chance of getting onto. But like I've said, when it comes to course, the easiest and best thing you can do is really think, well, what do I actually enjoy? What do I actually want to learn more about? And that's going to help you go help your whole time at uni, but it's also going to help things like writing a personal statement and all that sort of stuff. It's going to help that come quicker as well. Okay, so next step then. So the next step is career. Like I said, please don't think that here today we're saying you've got to know what you want to do when you're older. We do, all of us appreciate it's hard enough to decide what you want to do next year, and then to say what you want to do in 4 or 5 years' time is even more difficult. But if you do have a career in mind, if you're choosing a course based on a certain career, it's going to be quite straightforward for you. If you want to be a doctor, you're going to do medicine. If you want to be a solicitor, you're going to do law, and it's those quite straightforward decisions. Things you can look into, though, if you're interested in careers, are things like graduate employability. Graduate employability tells you how many students from each course have gone on to different careers and how many have gone on to a master's or how many have been unable to find work. So it can give you an idea about your employability chance of success moving forwards. You can find out what sort of careers you can go on to from different courses in prospectuses on university websites. If you look online, very easily you'll be able to find out, I want to do physics in a certain university, for example. Where do students who do physics at this university, where do they go on to work? And it can give you a bit more of an idea then about what could come your way in the future. And also, what's the careers team like? What sort of careers have they got available for you there? In school now, you might, like I did, have a very active careers team, which is very helpful for you. But you might also be in a school where maybe you feel like your careers team isn't doing as much as maybe that you'd hope they would. And you may want to look into a university then where you know they're going to give you all that support for your future career. Okay, and then the last 2 C's then is all to do with where you're going to go. So campus and city. So your new home, basically. Campus and city. So when you start doing your research, if you've already done it or if you're going to start soon, you'll see 2 different types of university, really. You'll see either a campus or a city university. They're typically the traditional types of university you can go to. Again, there's no right or wrong for any of these. It's all down to your own personal preference. A campus university is where everything's in one place, in one setting. So your lectures, your accommodation, your social, maybe your students' union bar, libraries, shops, all that sort of stuff is all in one area on one big campus. That may be quite far away from the city centre or town centre, though. So what you've got on the other end of it then is something called a city university, which is a bit more spread out. It's not all necessarily in one area as you would have with a campus university, but you've got the city centre or town centre down the road from lots of those different spread out settings. So again, you might be looking at it thinking, well, I love the idea of a campus university, but you might do a bit more research and go online and find out that actually you're more keen on maybe a city university. So trying to find out which one suits you most is quite a good thing to look at when looking at where you're going to go. What's the accommodation like? Accommodation is where you're going to live for the first year. It's your kind of long settling in period, really. So you've got to make sure that when it comes to accommodation, you have done your research, you know what's available, how much does it cost, how close is it going to be to your lectures, is it like a big student village or is it quite small and quite quiet? Whatever you're looking for, make sure you have found out exactly what sort of thing you're going to be hoping for, really. Like I said, it's a long settling in period. That first year is all about you integrating yourself into a new city or a new town, meeting new people, into a new way of learning as well. So you've got to make sure you're somewhere where you're going to be comfortable and you're going to enjoy living as well. How far away from home do you want to be? I'm quite a bad example of this because I moved 10 minutes down the road. My mother did still cry when she dropped me off, though, which was nice and awkward in front of my new flatmates. But how far away do you want to be? Just think realistically, if you're going to want to come home most weekends or quite often, then you don't want to be pushing yourself too far away. We would normally say as a good distance, 2.5 hours is probably not too bad. I know that may sound like a lot at the moment, but the more traveling you do back and forth, 2.5 hours is actually very close. So just think realistically about, are you going to want to come home? And if you are, how are you going to get home with transport links? Is there easy buses, trains? Are you going to take a car? Will that cost more money? Ask yourself all these questions about where you actually want to go. Other facilities you might want to look into, the sports, societies, what's the Students' Union like? There's loads of different things you can find out about on university websites and on virtual open days, which I'll discuss shortly, which really help you make these decisions as well. So really important to make sure that you have looked into all of these sort of things. But ultimately, choose what's right for you. Like I mentioned, having a twin brother, it was quite difficult at times making these decisions because we were very different in terms of what we enjoyed. So I was into more sports stuff. He wasn't necessarily into many sports when he was looking at university. So we had very different ideas of what we were looking for, but it was all to shape our experience at university. It was all to make sure that we found out what we wanted to, and we were going to be in a place we knew we'd love and enjoy the next few years at. Okay, so what else is on offer? I've mentioned some of these already, so I'm not going to go through these one by one. But again, if you like the idea of studying abroad, if you want to go abroad as part of your course, then make sure you found a university on a course where that is an option. Some universities can give you the option to go abroad on any course or over a summer placement, for example. Others are not able to give you that decision. So if you like the idea of that, make sure you're looking at universities and courses where that is going to be a viable option for you. With research, do you want to get involved in research? If you do, maybe you want to look at quite a research intensive university, one that's got a good reputation for letting students get involved in research, not just reading about it afterwards, but partaking in it firsthand. The social aspect. So what's the city like? What's the town like? What's the Students' Union like? What are the nightclubs like? All these sort of things you want to get involved in. Music societies, those sort of things. If you're into playing instruments, do you want to go to a university where they've got lots of musical societies available? Again, look into those sort of things. Think about what you're hoping for, what you're looking for from your experience, and find out if that university and that course gives you that opportunity. Sports and societies as well, and I've mentioned the Students' Union, which is sort of the central hub for all things at the university. And then also schemes like Languages for All. Languages for All at Cardiff, for example, is a free language scheme where you can learn the language for one evening a week for free alongside any course you take. So again, that might be something you want to look into in terms of adding skills to a CV and moving forwards as well then. In terms of where you can find this out, you might be thinking, right, well, that's all well and good, but how do we find these out if we can't go on open day? So I'm just going to spend the next couple of minutes talking you through different places to look. Now, you guys being at an event today on a Saturday, giving up your own free time on a Saturday for a few hours to find out more is a very, very good start. It's one of the best ways you can start research, by showing the commitment and enthusiasm to actually sign up to this sort of event and turn up to it as well on a Saturday, like I said. So, you know, really, really importantly, bear that in mind when looking at your research and how you can find these things out at different events like this. University websites, like I said, have got everything you need to know. The good thing about university websites is that they've currently got more information online than they probably have had before, because they know that students are limited in finding out where they can go and how much they can find information out physically. They know that they've put all the information online, and like I said, they've got more than they've had before. So make the most of it. It takes 5 to 10 minutes to go on a university website and find out about scholarships, bursaries, accommodation, find out where you can hear from student blogs, for example. It takes 5 minutes. So really, really important to make sure you're doing that. Somewhere like the student room is great. The student room is like a university forum. Good thing about the student room is that there's always new posts. There's around about 250,000 new posts every month. And the other good thing is you've got things from prospective students like yourselves on there, but also current students who are actually at university now, who can talk you through a bit more about the process and student life. Virtual tours, there's virtual campus tours you can look at on university websites, where you can see 360 views of the area, the city, the accommodation, and the university as well. YouTube, most universities, if not all, will have their own YouTube channels. This is good because you can see the university, but you can also see the surrounding area, and you can hear from students and academics as well. So that again takes 5 minutes to find out. League tables are very useful. If you look at league tables, they're useful as a guide, but please don't kind of use a league table as the most important thing. If you see a course that's ranked very high on the league table, but you look into it and think it's not really got the sort of things I was looking at, then I would go with your gut more than the league table. It's more important how you feel and that you know that you're going to enjoy that course. And also, probably the best place to find that more at the moment are things like virtual open days. All universities will be doing virtual open days for the near future. I wouldn't have thought there's any physical ones planned this side of Christmas. The good thing about virtual open days is that you can go to as many as you want. With physical open days, you'd go to about 4 or 5 of those, and that would be enough, really. You couldn't get any time off school or college or from work, and financially it does cost a bit of money to travel back and forth up and down the country every weekend. So go to 4 or 5 and that'd be about it. Whereas with virtual open days, you can go to 100 of those from your own sofa. You can draw comparisons from university to university, from course to course. You can have live chats with students, academics, tutors, and more as well. So really, really important to make the most of virtual open days, because like I said, most, if not all, universities will be running these sorts of things from now until Christmas, and then probably into early next year as well. Just to conclude, before I take any questions you might have had, like I said, do lots of research. Make the most of the time you've got. Application deadline for anyone in year 13, the UCAS deadline is 15th of January. So there is still a couple of months left, but it will come quite quick. So make the most of the time you've got now. Like I've said, you guys turning up on a Saturday afternoon is a great way to start. It shows willing and it shows determination to make the right decisions. So you're starting your research process very well there. Think of the 4 C's, think of your course, career, campus, and city then as well. Draw comparisons of universities, like I said, at things like virtual open days. Importantly, make sure you're the one to decide. Make sure that it's your decision. Make sure that you are the one looking into things, and it's a course that you want to learn more about, and you do does excite you, does make you want to develop your skills more in that course. And ultimately, good luck, for everyone here today. It is. We've all been through it. We know it's not the easiest task in the world to choose courses, do your research, and make sure you made the right decision. But good luck to all of you. And like I've said a few times, it's great to see so many here today on a Saturday, because you're kind of that first hurdle, you're over that quite easily now, if you have been struggling to find any sort of information out. What I'll do now is I'll take some questions you might have had. Just as I said, remember the fact that we do have a student panel coming up after this talk, so you can ask current students questions, find out more about them, ask them about their day-to-day life, and then also you're going to have a chance to visit ourselves at Cardiff, Exeter, and Bath later as well, with the half-hour slot a bit later on, so you can ask us any university-related questions there as well. But what I'll do now then, if I look at the chat, I'll take some questions. They've all been put in privately, but if you don't mind, I will read them out. I won't name anyone if you don't want me to, but I will read it out, because then others might have had the same sort of question. So first question, should I do a joint honours or a single honours? I've heard negative reviews about joint honours, and what would employers say? It's ultimately, I know it's quite a soft answer, but ultimately it's completely down to what you're interested in. If you love the idea of studying 2 subjects together, and you can do that, then a joint honours will be completely fine. I know lots of students who have done joint honours. Employers wouldn't look down on upon a a joint honours at all. The only way they might get involved is if, say, for example, for any certain career, you needed to do a specific course at university. If you were to do it as a joint honours, they may have to look into it in more detail. But joint honours are completely fine. They're not frowned upon. You're not going to have as many module options on each of those individual courses as you would if you did it as a single honours. But there's nothing wrong with studying a joint honours at all. Like I said, if you do have two courses you can't split between and you can do them together, then it's definitely something worth looking into. Also, should all degrees have exams? Most probably will, but they shouldn't necessarily all have them. Lots of courses I did, most of the modules were coursework based. You'll find that most courses, if not all, will have exams at some point throughout the 3 years, but I know students on my English language course who were picking modules based on the fact that they were mainly coursework assessed, because that's where they excelled really. So most will have exams, but some will be coursework based as well. You actually get to choose that yourself a lot of times. Is it harder to socialise and meet lots of people from you in a city university because it's spread out? I would say not really. If you're open and you are willing to kind of put yourself out there, then you won't find it difficult at all. What you've got to bear in mind is you're going to have people in your accommodation. You'll meet people on your course as well. If you join any sports or societies, you'll also meet people there. So you shouldn't have any issues with meeting people just because it's more spread out. Somewhere like Cardiff, for example, is half campus, half city. My accommodation was about 10 minutes away from the city centre. So for me, it was probably a bit more of a city university, but I didn't find it difficult making friends and meeting people at all. Because like I said, you've got different settings at the university where you're going to make these friend groups. So I wouldn't worry too much about that at all. Should we take a gap year if we can't decide on a course, or should we just base it on current interest? If you really can't decide, and even if you have an interest and you can't really find that course that really grabs you, taking a gap year is completely fine. Some courses like maths, for example, sometimes aren't too keen on gap years, because especially with maths, they feel like you've got to carry those skills from A level straight over to university. But most, if not all, courses apart from that are quite happy with gap years. What I would say is, if you do have a course or a university in mind, but you're still not completely sure, reach out to them, have a chat and say, look, I'm considering this course, but I think I want to take a gap year first, get more experience, get a job, do more kind of looking into the course as well. So nothing wrong with that at all. But like I said, if you want to just find out more, just contact the course, contact the uni and find out what they think about gap years. The good things about gap years is they teach you lots of skills. It's a good chance to develop personal skills and gain independence, and lots of universities do actually like that. There's a question about Exeter. I'll leave that. If you ask that question about Exeter Uni in the Exeter session a bit later on about predicted grades, they can let you know more about that. So if you do have a question in particular about that, then ask the guys later and they can help you out with that one. Virtual open days, are they still available to do? Yes, definitely. There'll probably be quite a large number of virtual open days between now and the end of the year. So do make the most of it. Again, if you look on a website called opendays.com, they've got a list of lots of open days coming up, so you can find that more. If you've got universities in mind, go online, search open days, and they'll have a long list of all the different opportunities you've got to go to virtual open days. For the modern languages year course, is the year abroad compulsory, or are there other options? Somewhere like Cardiff, the year abroad typically is compulsory, but if for whatever reason a student isn't able to or doesn't want to go abroad, there may be a chance to do some research still in Cardiff. Most students, most modern language courses, I would suggest the year abroad is compulsory though, because it's quite a big part of the degree. Can you change courses after the first year? Sometimes you can. I wouldn't say always. It depends on a whole host of things, like if that course is full, if the university allows students to do that. Again, one thing I would do is suggest, if you start a course and you're not completely sure about it, speak to them early. and just see what you can do. Some courses at Cardiff, for example, do allow you to change course within the same department. You couldn't necessarily change from business to journalism, for example, across department like that, but you can sometimes change within the same department. And then more job links at large universities, e.g. London. Possibly, again, with this, all I really know is from Cardiff's experience, we do have links with lots of employers, but most universities, if not all, will have very good links, and they'll have ongoing relationships with employers. I wouldn't say that necessarily large universities have more links, but again, if you do a bit of research and find that where students have gone on to work from that uni, from that course, it gives you a bit more an idea about the links they've got then. Going back to with changing a course, you can sometimes change it by the end of the first term. Some courses allow you to change by the end of the first year, as long as it's in the same department. For example, at Cardiff with biosciences and with engineering, you can, if you want to, you can change course by the end of that first year, as long as it's still within the bioscience or the engineering department. And the last question for now, how are unconditional offers achieved? Every university is different. Some universities base it on grades, others base it on things like contextual admissions. Again, I would just suggest when you're looking at different universities, have a chat with them and find out if they offer unconditional offers, and if so, how does a student achieve those? If you do a business management course with language, is that a business degree or a language degree? So for Cardiff, if you were to do a business management course with a language, that would be a business degree. That would be a BSc. In terms of what's better, a BA or a BSc, neither is better than the other. They're both bachelor's degrees, but our business degrees would be business with a language, so it would be a BSc. If there's no further questions, I'll leave it there, because I do want to make sure I give you guys enough time to settle in and have a bit of a break before your next session. Like I've said, your next one is a really invaluable chance to chat to current students. There'll be current students from all the universities below, so you can find out what their life is like at uni. So do make the most of that half hour, and you can ask us more university related questions a bit later on. And just to finish off, Cardiff, the question is Cardiff city or campus? Cardiff is kind of the best of both worlds, because it's a really small compact city centre. It's technically a campus university, but because it's on the doorstep of the city centre, you've got the benefits of campus and the benefits of city. So students benefit from both, really. I will leave it there. Any more questions, like I said, do please ask us a bit later on, and also make the most of the session you've got with students now. Thanks all again for attending this talk, but also for turning up today. It is great to see so many people here on a Saturday. So hopefully this has been helpful, and hopefully you'll enjoy the rest of the day as well. Thanks for listening.